Next speaker,
Amy Davis.
who I know is here. Good afternoon.
Hello, thank you so much for hearing me out today. So I've spent the last year investigating the water department and water billing issues as Houston customers contact us when they're having issues. As you probably know, citizens that elected you often look to you for their help when they can't get help from city services. So I was disheartened to hear Edward Williams, who came up here to plead his case and beg for your help on October 4th. And at the end of hearing what he had to say, Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Gallegos, said, just go back there to Public Works and they'll help you out. So the 68-year-old disabled man went back to Public Works, and here we are more than a month later. They have not done anything to his bill. I know that they gave you an interoffice memo explaining why his bill was $7,500 before he came to speak with you, but they did leave some things out. What they left out was they turned on his water with an agreement from his son. His son paid $1,100, made an agreement to pay down the debt that his father owed over several bills in addition to his new balance. But then the city did not send him a bill for 2 months. So they paid $1,100, turned his water on at the end of April. The city didn't send a bill in May. The city didn't send a bill until June 23rd. And when they sent it, they said, you now still owe us the $2,500, which he was expecting to pay, the debt that he owed. And you also owe us another $3,200 because for the month of June, you used 78,000 gallons of water. And he tried to call. He tried to get help. They said, you must owe it. His landlord hired a plumber. They came out, dug up the entire water line, shows no leaks. He's got a house on pier and beam. The ground is cracked at his property. He lives in Acres Homes. There's no way he used 78,000 gallons of water. The city said, we're looking into it. Then they sent him another bill for 64,000 gallons of water. He sends in his reports. He came to you all after all of that. His bills have now gone back down. The city says, miraculously, now he's only using about 3,000 gallons a month, so his bills are about $44 a month, and he's paying them. But they said he's still responsible for the $7,500 in water that he must have used. They changed technology on his meter. They went and changed it out. He explained that to you with no explanation of why they needed to change it if his meter wasn't broken. I'm just asking you to listen to customers. I just had the opportunity to sit down with Carol Haddock, who said, yeah, it doesn't make sense that somebody in a small house like that could use that amount of water. But nobody was willing to go to her before this point. Lastly, I know I'm probably out of time almost. Saddle Creek Farms, Mayor Pro Tem, your constituents in Saddle Creek Farms came to your office, and I have emails that they exchanged with Dustin over several months about their dirty water that is polluted with iron, which is naturally occurring, but this is what their filter looks like.
Your time has expired.
He stopped responding to them.
Now your time is up. But let me just say that Public Works, I think, has responded to you several times. And I know because I have instructed them. I know Public Works has provided information to you several times. And just like today, the director of Public Works spoke to you at 1 o'clock today. Mm-hmm. And so it's not that the city has not been responsive. The city has been very responsive, and we take every customer concerns, complaints. When their water bill jumps up beyond what is the ordinary, we take a good look at all of those things. And as I have indicated to Public Works and to the Water Department, where there are discrepancies that certainly are out of the norm, let's make sure that we take every necessary step to resolve those discrepancies. And if, for example, in certain situations where the ordinance, the current ordinance may prevent us from addressing any matter that should be addressed, then bring that to our attention, and I know City Council will be more than happy to do that, as we have done in the past.
Right.
And so we will do it again. But to say that the city is being unresponsive would not be true. To say that we do not take people's concerns seriously, that would not be true. And I think you know that. I think you know that. So let's address the concerns of the homeowners or whoever has the obligation of paying that bill. Let's work through the process, and we will certainly do that. And I have indicated to Public Works to make sure that we are being very responsive, because it is all about customer service. Councilmember Pack.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much for advocating on behalf of people about their water bills. When people contact my office about a water bill, it's one of the most frustrating items to deal with, because the water meter shows the usage, and that's usually the only thing, and they say, well, you must have used that water. So that's why, Mayor, a few weeks ago, I was advocating for those smart endpoints so that people could see throughout the month how much water is being used. And I know that there is a plan to roll that out, and that there's some supply chain issues. But I really think that will help people. So if they're starting to see that usage creeping up, they know that there's some kind of issue in real time, and they can address it. I mean, something similar happened at my house, that, there's a huge water bill, actually 2 months in a row, because I don't have that smart meter and had no idea that, there was an issue. So just as much as we can push that along, again, I know that there's supply chain issues, but whatever we can do to make sure that everyone has that capability, I think will really help, just to take out that surprise at the end of the month when they see that water bill. And we certainly want to address everyone's concern. We sent out over 500,000 bills, I think, on a monthly basis. So there are a number of accounts. We value each and every one, and where there are concerns that are being raised, we want to make sure that we address those concerns. And sometimes it does take time to work those things through, because you don't know whether or not there's a leak involved, whether it's not on our property or whether it's on their property. And then sometimes, by virtue of the current ordinances, the department may be stuck. But what I've said to Public Works is that if you're looking at bills, and let's say somebody's bill comes in and it is out of the norm from what their monthly bills may be, then you work to address that. And we'll always lean in favor that the customer is right, especially if 1 month their bill is $44 and then the next month their bill may be $4,000. Well, we know something is going on there. So you tag that and you work your way through it. But customer service is always front and center. And quite frankly, I would rather the city to be responsible for paying more or eating it. Let me just put it that way. And it's not the city eating it, because our money comes from the people themselves. So even in these bills, for example, when the city decides, okay, we're going to eat it, that just means it's going to be spread out amongst all of the people who are paying the water bills. But customer service is first and foremost. But I just want to bear in mind, out of 500,000 accounts, I think sometimes we're looking at about 50, okay? And then from that 50, we just have to narrow it down to make sure that we're addressing people's concerns. And I know there are a lot of frustrations, because there are a few things that will get on people's minds more so than anything. Water bill, electricity bills. Those are the two things that are front and center: water bill and electricity bill. The water bill falls on our end. The electricity bill falls with the retail electric providers. So I want to thank you. I know you have been very diligent on it, and we'll continue to be diligent as well and be responsive to the Houstonians who have to grapple with their bill.
I appreciated it. It was great to speak with Carol Haddock. I'd been asking for an interview since September, so that was wonderful. She did say possibly changes in the way the water bills are laid out would help customers understand when all of a sudden they get an adjustment of more than $1,000, that might be something that they could look at, so that it doesn't take hours and hours for a customer calling trying to figure out what it's for. And also acknowledge that there's a bit of a transparency issue with some technology that's breaking in the meters, that I as a homeowner can't count on just going out to my meter to read the meter and see that it matches the bill, because when the meter's broken, so it's a transparency issue. I can't even double check that I've used the water that you say that I've used, because the meter doesn't have a correct reading.
Right. Okay, we'll work through it. Mayor Pro Tem Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you. I enjoy waking up with you and Owen and Lisa and Anthony. Y'all do a great job day in and day out, so thank you. I know that our office has talked to Mr. Gregory Green. The interesting thing about the neighborhood that I live in and also represent is We don't receive water from Lake Houston. We receive water from the ground. And when you receive water from groundwater, sometimes it has a high quality of iron and manganese. And one of the things that we may have incurred, I'm not sure, I know Mr. Green lives in what I would call South Huffman, which is in the city of Houston. And one of the things that we're attempting to do is anytime we get complaints about brownness in water and things like that, it's generally a higher content of manganese than we expect. And because they receive their water from the ground, like I do, we have to go in a little bit of a different direction as far as testing, because we don't receive the water from the normal supply that 99% of the city does, and that is Lake Houston. So I know that Public Works is doing some testing on some of the water that we received from Huffman area residents, and hopefully we'll have a good answer to the solution. I'd love to see what his pipe looked like, because we've had a number of folks that live in the Huffman area that have had groundwater problems, which is why many areas around the city of Houston are going through subsidence with that. So.
Right.
Motion to extend? Been moved. Second, and the objection chair is none. Motion granted. Okay. Councilman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your reporting on this. Mayor, I know that it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. I mean, I know I've been here on 9 years, and every now and then you have a senior or someone that's disabled that comes in and says that they have a high water bill, which I can only imagine how frustrating and scary it is for someone that's on a fixed income. Is there something that the city can do in regards to when this happens to a senior or somebody disabled that's on a fixed income? And I mean, they're basically scared because all of a sudden their bill was $40, $50, and now it's $8,000 or $15,000. Where Public Works actually sends out, and I'm assuming we would have to have a contract with a plumber of some sort, a contractor that actually will go out to this person's home and check things to make sure that there is not a leak. And then that way it can move faster because, like it was stated, they even though there was an issue, they're still getting a bill the next month. And it just I mean, I can only imagine they don't sleep at night.
Well, I think what certainly what Public Works can do and should be doing is what I've indicated they should do, is that if you get a bill and let's say 1 month it is out of the norm, I mean it is significantly higher than what it normally is, then that account should be immediately flagged. And then it triggers further review. Okay? So it doesn't make any sense. For example, again, if someone is getting, if their normal water bill is, let's say, is $44, and then 1 month it is $900. Let me just use that number. Then that is way out of the norm. Well, you flag that account. You simply flag it, and you put a hold on it, and you don't ask the person, for example, the homeowner, to pay that bill until it has been thoroughly investigated. That way, we know it's out of the norm, okay? And so both parties need to be working together, but the primary attitude on our part should be one of customer service, okay? It's customer service, and you work your way through. And once the city has done its due diligence, and then you get in a position to say, no, we've checked through our system, it's not our system, you know, obviously there's a leak somewhere and you need to get your plumber and take further review. Okay, but what we should not do is that when those bills spike like that, just insist for the customer to pay the bill, especially when they're saying this doesn't make any sense. Okay, so this is not a got you game. It should not be a got you game, and we need to work through that. Now, having said that, let me just say this. You know, they are dealing with 500,000 accounts on an annual basis, and we're talking about a small percentage of that. But for that person who has the water bill, it's everything to them. Okay? And so a lot of this is just sensitivity, being sensitive, okay, being understanding, and then providing people with the information that's needed. So flag it. Do your due diligence, work with the customer, the homeowner, and then move forward. And then if it's something, for example, where by ordinance their hands are tied, then you bring it back to us, and let us help to work through those problems. And that's what I've instructed Public Works to do. Okay. All
Mayor,
right.
if there's
Thank
only
you.
50, all 50 of those people must be calling me. I
understand.
thank you for your
I
time.
understand. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Next speaker.